Yes, sir, ladies and gents, and we are back on another episode of Rooted in Sports Thursday. Hello,
Thursdays, right?
somebody.
Our first, right?
Right?
A week ahead of the NFL draft.
The man, exactly 1 week away. So just a quick heads up, we're gonna go ahead and let you know now, and you're gonna hear us say this a couple times. Next week, you're gonna get us twice, not once,
Two
but
times, two
twice.
times, two times in 1 week.
Yes, sir. You're gonna get us with a quick mock draft on Tuesday, and then we're gonna go live for the NFL draft on Thursday. So you're gonna get a lot of us. But anyway, man, what's going on? Yet another great time to be alive, man. Oh, King Tiberius, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling. Look, I'm working through these seasonal allergies, man. But hey, I'm living to fight another day and talk sports another day.
Man, seriously, bro. I think knock
Be
on
careful out
wood.
there,
I
people.
think finally kind of working through mine, man. So
Hmm.
it's real, man. Then the weather's changing and it's getting a little real, but God is good anyhow. And here we are, man. We're gonna hit y'all with a nice, real quick one today. We're gonna do a little bit of a NBA playoff update. Just kind of speak just for a little while on what's been going on and our thoughts on the playoffs and how they're going, how this first round is going thus far. And then we're gonna hit you with obviously the draft, NFL draft, like we said, exactly 1 week from today. So we're gonna hit you with a couple of our as we call it, match made in heaven or perfect fits. Just a couple players that would probably fit in perfectly in a couple locations in the NFL. So should be fun. It will be quick. And
Hmm.
yeah, we're gonna make it happen, bro. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's get this thing percolating.
Well, as always, let's get into the handy dandy intro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just like that, we right back in full effect. And like I said, man, we're gonna keep it real short and sweet for you guys today. But we wanted to start off with a little bit about the NBA playoffs, about the
Hmm.
first round thus far. Every series has officially played at least two games now.
Right.
We got a couple of the games tonight are working on game three. I think we got Philly and Brooklyn playing game three right now, and I believe we got Sacramento and Golden State playing a little later on tonight. And we'll
That that one
I'm and
that.
I'm gonna get into that really quickly. But yeah, first
I'm
round so
interested.
far.
Yeah, I'm about to say I need to know. I want you to get down to the nitty gritty. I need let's start at the top and let's start with what series. As a matter of fact, what series concerns you the most?
Ooh, what series concerns me the most? Okay, well, right on cue. I think that the Golden State Warriors, and I didn't think I'd say this because prior to the playoffs, they were my pick to get to the finals out of the Western Conference. But I think that they might be in some serious trouble. Um, this Sacramento Kings team is giving them all that they can handle. They are not scared of the defending champions. I said before the series that this would be the most entertaining series in all the playoffs
Hmm.
because for Sacramento, for a team that during the regular season they didn't defend very well, but I mean they can score. They led the league in scoring. They had one of the highest efficiency ratings in NBA history. This offensive efficiency ratings in NBA history this past year. They're very still a really young team, a very talented team, and you're kind of seeing some of that come to fruition in this here playoff series. They're playing with a lot of poise. They're playing under control. Um, I mean, De'Aaron Fox is having himself a heck of a series, and I don't know, like Golden State, they look a little old. They look a little slow to the loose balls. They look a little slow on their rotations. Now, I mean, I don't know. This could be, you could just chalk that up to home cooking. At the end of the day, Sacramento did basically do their job, which is to hold home court. But I think if there was anyone out here that would have said after 2 games Sacramento would be up 2-0, I think they'd be lying because I don't think anyone expected this.
So let me ask you this, and this is something that I've heard a little bit. It's kind of like, we look at how Golden State has played a majority of the season, which we can agree that they weren't great defensively and they weren't great on the road.
Terrible.
And terrible on the road. And they had a buffet of injuries, and obviously, we had Andrew Wiggins who was gone for a majority, probably good 90% of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like let's erase the years that Golden State has lost? Do you feel like they've kind of gotten into this? They've kind of developed this thing like, hey, all we got to do is just show up to the party. Like all we have to do is just make it. Do you feel like they had this mindset that's kind of like after a while it's going to come back to bite them? Do you feel like that's what we're saying?
No, that's very much fair, and I mean for a team that's been so otherworldly successful over the past 7 or 8 years now. I mean, it's hard for them not to, but yeah, I mean, I think you do see a little bit of that. I think they're a team who maybe thought just like so many times in the past, hey, if need be, when need be, we could just turn it on. And I'm not saying that I'm by any means am I saying that this series is over.
Right.
Even
they can easily turn it around
tonight. Yeah, even tonight without Draymond Green, and I'll get to that in a second. But even tonight, without Draymond Green, would I be surprised if they went out there and won Game 3 handily? No, I wouldn't. They're going back home in front of their home court. They're going to be motivated. I'm sure the whole situation with Draymond Green is going to be added motivation for them. I mean, they're going to play. I believe that they're going to play, really desperate, and I think they're going to put up a good performance tonight, and I think they're going to win tonight. But I mean, yeah, I think you can chalk a little bit of this up to them, just kind of being so confident that they feel like, hey, okay, maybe I can kind of turn it on. We can kind of turn it on, turn it off. When we need
stumble, we can stumble into the playoffs and beat everybody.
But this is a dangerous game for them. Like Sacramento isn't afraid of them. Those young boys confident. really truly believe that they can beat this Golden State team. And now they're going out here without Draymond Green. And I'm gonna say this about that Draymond Green situation really quickly. Do I think he deserved to be suspended for the single act for what happened the other night? No, I don't. Actually, I think he's done worse. And I also think that throughout the first couple games, I think that Sabonis has kind of been picking at him, has kind of been, getting away with a few things here and there.
Right.
But okay, what was this suspension more of a punishment for a myriad of things for what he's done in the past? Yes, it was.
Probably. Yeah.
And do I have a problem with that?
Yeah.
No, I do not. I don't have a problem with that.
So so basically he's paying for his sins now?
He is. It's just like, and I heard
his crimes against humanity.
I heard Shannon Sharp say it best. If you're in court, if you're in a court of law, do you not think that your prior history or your priors don't play a part in your judgment? If you have a history of something, do you not think that doesn't play a part in your judgment? It does.
Yeah, it does.
And it's the same thing here. He probably didn't deserve to be suspended for this single act, but it's not by coincidence that he's always involved in these types of things. That last year in the playoffs, didn't he kick Steven Adams in the man area? Like, bro, what are you doing? And he's always getting caught up in these situations. And like I told someone else, granted, you can say that I've heard some people in this instance saying, oh, Sabonis has been picking at him. Sabonis has been starting it.
I know JJ Redick was very.
I was about to mention. I heard JJ Redick, pretty spirited about how he felt about the situation, and I simply put it like this: maybe Sabonis, he was kind of poking at the bear. Maybe he was, but at the end of the day, basically, what you're saying is that Sabonis pretty much Draymond Green in a nutshell. He basically Draymond Green. He basically did to Draymond what he's so famous for doing in other series.
What they say it's not fun when the rabbit got the gun.
It's not exactly. It's not fun when the rabbit got the gun. So yeah, this is going to be a very. I'm going to tune in. This is going to be a very interesting game tonight.
So okay, moving on to another series. I guess we'll stay in the Western Conference and move over to East and wrap up with that. We have this Lakers Grizzlies series, which everybody highly anticipated. We got the NBA's new coveted villain in Dylan Brooks, right, so to speak. But it's kind of went back and forth. Game one, we saw the Lakers kind of win it in dominant fashion. John Morant went out with the right hand injury. But then in game two, without John Morant, we really see this entire, honestly, Memphis lineup step up. Desmond Bane plays better. Dylan Brooks plays a little bit better on the offensive end. We see Tyus Jones do some things. So I think the biggest question for me that I have for you, do you feel like this Grizzlies team plays better without John Morant? Because they look like night and day a different team.
They do, man. You know, that argument can really truly be made. Even throughout the regular season, over the past couple seasons, when he's missed games, I mean, it's almost like they don't miss a beat. It's almost like they get up for it. I think part of that is because they have one of the better backup point guards in the league in Tyus Jones, former Duke product. And in actuality, I think Tyus Jones could be a starter for a couple teams in this league. I think he's a starter caliber player. And they have one of the better, obviously, he's one of the better backup point guards in the league. And he's not as flashy as John Morant. He's clearly nowhere near as athletic as John Morant, but he is a better shooter. And at this point, you know,
better playmaker.
He's I'm not gonna say a better playmaker, but he's a more stable voice, a more stable, you know, leader. He's the type of quintessential leader that's gonna take his time, get guys in their place, and he really is more of a pass first point guard. Right. So it allows that room for a Desmond Bane to really step up, for a Jaren Jackson Jr. to really step up, who played a really solid game yesterday.
He did.
One thing that I wanted to point out about yesterday's game, though, and I think you heard me say this in the chat last night. So here we are, the Lakers with a really great effort in game one, come up with a victory. Here they are. Obviously, Steven Adams is already out for the series. Brandon Clark is out for the rest of the season. No Ja Morant in this game too. Okay, the Lakers pretty much got game two on a platter. You know, they pretty much got the opportunity to go up 2-0. And they come out with this lackluster effort as if they thought the Grizzlies were just gonna roll over and hand them the game. And then I gotta give them the criticism. You know, Anthony Davis is a top 5 talent in this league.
But sometimes he shrinks.
Top 5 talent in this league. It's no way in a game 2 under these circumstances. The Lakers were heavy favorites. It's no reason why they should have lost this game.
Especially in the fashion that they did.
Bro, there's not a single player currently playing on the Memphis Grizzlies roster who's supposed to be able to guard this man. But he got outplayed by Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman led the Grizzlies in scoring. He had 22 and 13. Anthony Davis had 13 and 9, and he hit a late 3. He hit a 3 in the last minute for that. So we're talking about a guy who barely got into double figures, a top 5 talent. There's nobody. I think Xavier Tillman, they got him. I think he's listed at about 6'7", 6'8". Nowhere near the wingspan of an Anthony Davis. Nowhere near the skill set. Nobody out there, with the exception of maybe Jaren Jackson, but nobody out there truly had the length to really guard Anthony Davis. But he goes out there unmotivated, lackluster. Sure, he had about five. I think he had about 5 or 6 blocks in the game. But yeah, he had 5 blocks in the game. I think they were all in the first half. Like, bro, where are you at? Like, this is the playoffs. It's time to show up. It's no way that the Lakers can expect to go far in the playoffs with Anthony Davis being this up and down. You just don't know from day to day, from game to game, what AD you're gonna get.
And I think that obviously, we can talk about AD's shortcomings and kind of how he shrank sometimes, especially in this moment. But you look at the Lakers as a whole, it's crazy because one day you see them and they could look like, dare I say it, the most dominant team in the Western Conference. And then sometimes you watch them and it's like, what the hell are they doing? One thing that's been mentioned a lot is, the same thing I could say about Ja Morant. There's times where you can look at the Lakers when they played their best ball. LeBron has not been on the floor, honestly, if we look at down the stretch. It's almost like
they had that stretch while LeBron was out. Actually, they got into and then eventually out of they got into the play-in while LeBron was out. They went on that little run while LeBron was out. And Anthony Davis was playing some phenomenal ball.
Was playing some great ball. But a lot is made, I guess, this lineup that the Lakers keep using where they put LeBron in center and it's basically small ball. So he's kind of like a point center and he's kind of moving and kicking the ball around. And I guess they keep trying to go to this lineup, but it just hasn't been effective for them. But what do you feel like the Lakers need to do to kind of get back on track outside of Anthony Davis being Anthony Davis?
Well, that's A. B, I think that it's no reason why the Lakers shouldn't win this series, even as the 7th seed. They're favored in this series, and there's really no reason why they shouldn't win this series. I think they just simply have to come to play every game. They need the same effort, consistent effort, 1 through 12, every game. You can't. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, man. I mean, he hasn't shown up yet. He hasn't left the regular season yet.
Hey, what he say? He said, "I'm just a basketball player for this team. I want to play guard."
Listen.
Like, why did you say that? Why did you say that,
bro? And he hasn't quite shown up to the playoffs yet. You know what I'm saying? One bright spot for them has been Rui Hachimura. He has back-to-back 20-point games. So
yeah, he's playing some really good ball.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to take to LA. Looking forward, and I don't think they play again until Saturday. Looking forward, you got Game 3 in LA. I fully expect LA to come out, with a more concerted effort in front of the home crowd. I'm expecting Ja Morant to play this game. So I think you're going to see a really competitive Game 3, especially after what Dylan Brooks said post game about LeBron. So I think you're gonna see LeBron be.
He's gonna have to give me 40. Stop.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see LeBron come out really motivated, really, really aggressive, and hey, we'll see what happens, man. It should be an interesting Game 3, but I expect the Lakers to take that game.
Okay. I obviously can talk about a few other games on the West if you would like, but Eastern Conference, we had the Milwaukee injury disaster Game 1. And then Game 2, I'm sure, did you watch it? Talk to us about Game 2 and what were your thoughts on Game 2?
So you basically seen, I'm gonna call it the championship fortitude and the depth of the Milwaukee Bucks. So they go out here, and Giannis had the back contusion or whatever, so he ends up sitting this Game 2 out. And this should show you the amount of confidence that Budenholzer has in this Milwaukee Bucks team, right? They're down 1-0, okay? And he's confident enough to sit Giannis for this Game 2, knowing that he has enough of a talented team and a deep enough team to go out here and get the job done. And boy, did they. Now the score ended up being 138 to 122, and if I'm being honest, it wasn't even that close. I mean that's a 16-point win, and to be honest, the game really wasn't that close. And I mean, you really seen a total team effort. Drew Holiday played great. Brooke Lopez played great. Even Pat Connaughton comes off the bench, makes 6 threes. I mean, you really seen a total team effort. You really seen their depth. This is a team. Legitimately, this team could go 9 or 10 deep. Like seriously, they could seriously go 9 or 10 deep. You know, when you can bring a guy like Bobby Portis off the bench, a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, averaged a double off the bench. Okay, I think they ended up giving it to Malcolm Brogdon, but Bobby Portis was a prime candidate for 6th man of the year. But when you can bring a Bobby Portis off the bench, mind you, they signed Jay Crowder mid-season. You can bring a Pat Connaughton comes off the bench, hit 6 threes. A Joe Ingles. They got Goran Dragic stashed at the back of the bench. I mean, when you can bring guys like that off the bench, man, I mean, what can you do with a team like this? And then Miami, Tyler Hero missed this game, and I believe he might miss the rest of the series. He has like a broken finger, hand, or something like that. He may miss the rest of the series, and that's a pretty big loss for them.
What is it with why does Miami always stand up for Milwaukee? What is it?
Well, first of all, playoff Jimmy is a real thing.
Okay? Yeah,
as you've seen in game 1, you know, any team with Jimmy Butler on it, you can't count them out. They're gonna fight. You know what I'm saying? This is a team that's, you know, at its core, they're still a couple years removed from an NBA Finals appearance. Granted, it was in the bubble, but a couple years removed from an NBA Finals appearance. And they have one of the best coaches in the league, championship winning coach, in Eric Spoelstra. So this team has been a bit of a disappointment this year. They haven't necessarily lived up to expectations, but they have a nice mixture of youth and veterans. They still got a veteran Kyle Lowry now coming off the bench, and you know I've never been a huge fan of his.
Kyle, no, you never have.
But he is a savvy veteran. You know what I'm saying? When he will come out, he'll make a big shot or two. He's gonna get 2 or 3 charges a game. They got Kevin Love now. You know, so they got some veterans that's, you know, that are experienced and they're gonna fight.
So let me ask you this: could it be argued? Because I think we can always agree. We look at the past. I mean, hell, time has went by so fast. Probably the last 3 or 4 years that we've gotten out of Miami, they've been really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like them overachieving and kind of punching above their weight class for so long that they finally just a little bit come down to earth, just a little bit? Because they're not like a supremely talented team. They don't have like a big, even though I love Jimmy, they don't have that big star, like especially from a scoring sense. They're more of, they play a lot of team ball, so it's like a shared effort.
Yep. Yeah. I'll take that a step further. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here. If Giannis comes back for game 3, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I don't think Miami wins another game in this series. If Giannis comes back,
I feel like Giannis
if he comes back for game 3. With that being said, I'll take it a step further. I think next season you're gonna see a different look Miami Heat team.
You think it's time to tear it down?
Yeah. I think it's time for them to mix some things up, mix some guys up and try to get a new core. You know, I think for me, outside of probably Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, anybody else on this team can probably go.
Which is so sad because I really felt like the core that they've had, if they could have did what Toronto did and added like a Kawhi to that team,
it would have did wonders. And they're another team that they really are really small. Like
Bam Adebayo is they're big. He's what, 6'8", 6'9"?
Yeah, like there are instances where sometimes you can watch them, and there's instances where if Bam Adebayo doesn't get the rebound, they won't get a rebound. Like sometimes they play against certain teams, and it just looks like that. There are times when they give up 2, 3, and 4 offensive rebounds in one possession because they can, strap up for 24 seconds and get a solid stop, but they can't complete the possession with a rebound. And that might be something to look into in the offseason as well. Maybe just getting a little more size and some more rebounding in there for them. But I expect this team to look vastly different next season.
Talk to me about your Bulls.
Well, obviously my Bulls, they lost to this Miami team in the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said this at the All-Star break. I think it's time to blow them up. We're another team. We need shooting. We need a true point guard. We kind of, and I'm gonna just say it, we kind of swung and missed on Lonzo Ball, and obviously it had nothing to do with his play, but just the injuries. I mean, at this point, you have to really question if he'll ever play basketball again. He has another surgery scheduled, and most people say that he's likely to miss next season.
Damn.
So, I mean,
what kind of freak injury is this? What the hell is going on?
Man, I don't know, man. It's something with the knees. That's all I can tell you. I know there was a point where, now mind you, he's already had, I believe, 2 surgeries already, and he was just still not feeling himself. He still couldn't really do really physical or basketball activity, so to speak. At one point, I think about midway through the season, there was a report that was saying that he was struggling to even walk up the stairs. And I know they were saying that he had been to, not only had he seen the Bulls doctors and the Bulls specialists, but he had seen 2 or 3 other specialists outside of the team specialists, and none of them could identify what the issue was. So with that being said, I mean, he was still experiencing pain, and he still was never cleared for basketball activities. And it's really just a sad case, man. And I wish him the best. One of the people that comes to mind when I think of situations like this, and I'm gonna take you back a little bit, but Sean Livingston, who was on those first couple Golden State Warriors championship teams, he was a guy. Although Sean Livingston had a freak injury, like he had one of the worst injuries I probably ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Like, and if you haven't seen it, if you're not squirmish, go YouTube. That it's just a nasty injury, and he missed a lot of time and years with complications from that. But ultimately, he was able to come back and carve out a really solid NBA career for himself and win a couple rings and be an intricate part of a couple of championship winning teams. And so I hope that for Lonzo Ball. But just getting back to the question, man, I mean, it's time for the Bulls to just blow it up, man. I mean, we need some shooting in there. I don't think DeRozan and LaVine can work together.
No, somebody has to go. You can't have 2 kings in one castle.
I honestly think one of them has to go. I also think that Vucevic, it might be time to move off of Vucevic too. And I always said this, he never quite found his way or found his role or his niche since he's gotten to the Bulls. And it may be time to send him along his way too and just start all over. Just go young and just start all over, man. It might be some dog days ahead from my Bulls, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say this real quick though. One more series I want to touch on real quick before we go on.
I was gonna ask about this New York Cleveland.
Okay, I'm gonna hit on that real quick.
Okay.
So very, very, they're the 2 most evenly matched teams in the playoffs.
Cleveland and New York.
Yes. And I think this was the toughest series for me to pick, but I did end up picking Cleveland in 7. And the reason I did was because by a very slight margin, I think that they have the best player in this series in Donovan Mitchell. So I think in a game 7, and he's been prone to huge playoff performances. I mean, I think he had about 40 or something, although they lost game 1. I think he had over 40 in game 1. I think in a game 7 situation, which would be in Cleveland, I think that you see him, really just kind of show out. And then, but that series is must see basketball. 2 evenly matched the teams as you're ever really gonna see. And then, real quickly, I just want to touch on Phoenix Suns, LA Clippers. So yesterday we seen the Clippers second quarter and into the second half. Not the Clippers, excuse me, the Phoenix Suns. Second quarter and into the second half, we seen them really get it going offensively. We seen Devin Booker really start to get in his bag, and and then we seen, I think, what was important for them and what's gonna be important for them moving forward is the others, guys outside of Booker and Durant that can get it done. Like yesterday, we seen Torrey Craig. I believe he was 5 for 6 from 3 or 6 for 7 from 3. Made some really big 3-pointers for him. And then in the fourth quarter, we seen Chris Paul kind of come alive and really kind of close the game out. We even seen DeAndre Ayton. He got in foul trouble in the second half, but there was a stretch in the second quarter, and I think he only ended up with like 14 and 13, but he had 10 or 11 of those points in the second quarter. That was a stretch in the second quarter where the Clippers were up, 9 or 10 points, where on consecutive plays, DeAndre Ayton made that little 12 to 14-foot jump shot, just bang, bang, bang. They was giving it to him, and he made them 3 or 4 times in a row, and it really helped the Suns get back going. They ended up going on a run to tie the game, going into halftime, and then they kind of took over in the second half. Said all that to say, the Suns better be ready to play when they get to LA, because this Clipper team, like, say what you want about them. First of all, Kawhi Leonard. Oh, FYI, it just came out today that apparently Kawhi Leonard's going to miss game 3. The knee acting up on him. So apparently he's going to miss game 3, right? Like, crazy. So I was going to say the Clippers are playing extremely hard, especially defensively. Like, if you watch this game, and Kevin Durant's still having a pretty solid series, but I mean, goddamn, like they are in Kevin Durant, and then Tyronn Lue is throwing him so many different defensive looks. 1 minute he'll have one guy on him, then the next minute he'll see a double team. Sometimes he'll see a triple team. They'll pick him up full court. Like, he's making it hard for him. The Suns had better be ready to play. So okay, with Kawhi out, it's no reason why they shouldn't win game 3.
So then let me ask you this. Do you think if the Clippers aren't able to capitalize and make a serious run this year, do you think that it's time for them to tear this thing down? Because I feel like we've kind of been having this little song and dance for the last 4 years, where we just knew that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were going to lead this team and to greener pastures, and it just hasn't materialized. Obviously, they had the Western Conference Finals appearance a few years ago when the Suns made it. Right. But outside of that, we really have been left with nothing. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I think for them, it's always going to be some excuse. This season is, obviously Paul George being out at least for this first round of the playoffs. I don't know if they completely blow it up. I think as long as Kawhi is willing to stay, Kawhi will be there. I think as long as Paul George is willing to stay, Paul George will be there. Westbrook has, especially in this playoff series, like, I got to give it to him. He's played extremely hard. The first game he didn't shoot well, but he made up for it in other ways. He played extremely hard. He made a couple really key plays defensively. And then in this last game, it might have been one of the better games I've seen him play all season in terms of him being under control and not turning the ball over. He didn't have a high assist amount, but he played under control. He didn't turn the ball over. He shot the ball well. He made all of his free throws. So it was probably one of the better games I've seen him have all season. Russell Westbrook, if he can continue to have a solid series where he plays hard, you might see, you might possibly see him come back to the Clippers next season. So I don't think they blow it up. I think with Tyronn Lue there, I think they give it another run, and hopefully they can, stay healthy. That's their real thing, is health.
And first of all, it's good to see Russ kind of get back to playing within himself and kind of getting that confidence and remembering that he is a guy. He may not be the guy, but he is a guy still.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, it definitely is, man. And I mean, I've been called a notorious Russell Westbrook hater and whatever, however, but it is refreshing to see him start back to kind of get, his flowers a little bit in this series, because there was a while there where, especially with the Lakers, and granted his play was terrible, but he was kind of made the scapegoat there, and he was a big reason, but not the reason.
Big reason, right?
So, yeah, man. But that's a little bit. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. Last, really quick, last question, and we can move on. We go to football.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the year that Denver can finally walk away with the Western Conference? Now, obviously, they're playing a Minnesota team who people kind of have doubts about. But
Minnesota,
I think
trash.
They are. Minnesota's trash. But I do think when we look at the way Denver is built, with Jokic being the guy for them, you could argue that even though no one thinks that Minnesota is going to win that series, they can make life a little bit more difficult because of the big bodies they have that they can throw at them.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen from Denver in this series that makes you think, okay, maybe they can do it this year? Or maybe they can at least go.
There's still a couple other teams in the Western Conference that I think aren't the best matchups for Denver.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, though, I think that this team that they have this year is probably, if they can stay healthy, is probably this team probably gives them the best chance of any of the teams in the past few years as far as getting out of the Western Conference. Obviously, they were the number one seed in the Western Conference, and I think this team gives them as good a chance of getting out of the Western Conference as any. And last quick point, last night, if I'm not mistaken, Jamal Murray had 40.
He did.
If Jamal Murray can be that Jamal Murray, if he can muster up some of the playoff performances that we've seen him have, if he can kind of get back to that Jamal Murray from the bubble,
stand up.
Now we might be on to something. Stand by. We might be on to something now. Jokic.
Yeah, and that makes life easier. And you know what the funny part is? You look at, a lot of people. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and say this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen people hate on a player, at least not in a while, the way that they hate on Jokic for just because of his play style, him being purely skilled.
Mm-hmm.
And my point has always been with Jamal Murray that if he can take the step and make the jump scoring wise and kind of get back to himself, and like it's almost like Jokic, even though he can give you 25, he can give you 30, 40 points. He has no problem giving you 15, 10, and 10. He really doesn't care.
Absolutely. If somebody else got it going, he'll absolutely defer.
He doesn't care. So when people are like, oh, well, this guy shut Jokic down because he only had 14 points. I'm like, so you're going to tell me Jokic, who we could agree best passing big man of all time, because he has numbers that are in line with most elite bigs in NBA history, that's him. That's stopping him. So I don't know.
And
I see that often.
Enough. People better realize is that he's a solid scorer now. This is a guy, I'm talking about a guy who averaged, I believe, 27, 28 a game this year.
Yeah.
But he's probably a better facilitator than he is a scorer. As a 7-foot center. Like we talking about a guy who almost averaged a triple double. He got about nine and a half assists a game.
Yeah,
like a true center. So hey man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Jamal Murray can play like this, they might be on to something. But
they might just.
But that was a quick NBA playoffs, recap, and obviously you're gonna hear more about the NBA playoffs from us because they're gonna continue going and they're gonna get deeper. The matchups are gonna get even better, so you're gonna hear more from us. But real quick, we want to get over into a little bit of football, a little bit of NFL. As we mentioned, um, the NFL draft is exactly 1 week from today, next
1 week.
Thursday. As I'm gonna mention again, you can catch us on Tuesday where we will have our mock draft for the first round, and then we'll be live on Thursday, live for the NFL draft. But we wanted to get into what we like to call our NFL match made in heaven. So just a couple draftees and perfect fits for them as far as teams for them to possibly be drafted to. And I think we both, I guess we'll kind of go back and forth. I think we
We can go
both
back and forth.
yeah, I think we both got maybe about 4 or 5 guys that and we have perfect matches for them. But yeah, Kenny, I guess I'll let you kick it off, man. Give me an NFL match made in heaven draftee and draft team.
Okay. I'm gonna go Jack Campbell out of Iowa to the New England Patriots. Depending on whether they want to stay, I want to say they're at 14 or they want to trade back. But if you look at the type of players that Bill Belichick brings into his locker room, he likes to bring in big physical alpha type of mindset players. If you watch Jack Campbell, anybody I know I've asked Isaiah to watch him. I've asked numerous people to check him out and stuff like that. But he is such a traditional kind of with a little bit of modern athleticism, but he is a true throwback linebacker. 6'5", 245, 250 pounds. Can stop the run. Plays really well in zone. And he is, and I really don't throw this around lightly. He is a true leader's leader. He's the when you watch him at Iowa, there's everyone on that defense is looking at him to make a play. And he finds ways to take the ball away. So I feel like Jack Campbell is a guy that fits so perfect for the New England culture that they would draft him. Maybe they trade back into the later teens, but they draft him, bring him into that room. And remember, Dante Hightower retired. The guy that kind of held that position, another big old school throwback linebacker that held that position for years and years. But now they need
a really successful, one of the more successful stories on the defensive end coming out of Alabama, huh?
Yeah, no, 100%. And the crazy part is he went to a almost matching culture because we know how the similarities Bill Belichick and Nick Saban have. So it was just like a seamless transition for him. Jack Campbell, I think, can be I could argue that I think Jack Campbell can be better than Dante Hightower. I think he's a little bit more athletic and a little bit more gifted with some of the things that you can do with him schematic wise. But Jack Campbell to New England. That's my first one.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask you this because I know you're good with these. For those who may not be familiar with him, who would be like a solid player comparison for him?
Oh, this one's gonna be tough. Yikes, because he's so throwback. I could say Brian Urlacher, but he's not as athletic as Brian Urlacher was. But he definitely is. He definitely has the size. He's not as because people forget Brian Urlacher was a safety first in college, and then he transitioned to linebacker.
Was it New Mexico State?
New Mexico, yeah. Nigga was New Mexico, the Lobos.
Yeah.
But so I guess I could probably say Brian Urlacher. He kind of has a little bit of Brian Urlacher to his game. I think that'd be my best comp. I mean, if you look at the size.
Crazy enough, I was crazy enough, I was kind of thinking your guy from the Cowboys, Van Der Esch.
Some people have made that comparison. I think I can see that. I can see a little bit of that. But to me, he's definitely more of a thumper than Leighton Van Der Esch is. He's a lot more of a thumper. And I love Leighton Van Der Esch. He's a thumper. And he's more of like I would say he's a little bit more of an aggressive alpha than what LV is a lot more reserved. And honestly, even though there are similarities in their skill set and their size, LV is probably a little bit more athletic than Jack Campbell is going to be. So you can LV can cover. You see him sometimes carry tight ends down the field. He has a little bit more range, but Jack Campbell is more of, I need a guy that can come in and lead my defense from day one and stop the run, and is going to play like a 5-year veteran. That's what Jack Campbell is.
Okay. I'm gonna throw my match made in heaven out. So very familiar name, Anthony Richardson, and crazy enough, I had 2 teams in mind for this kid. Okay. Now I think we kind of talked about him a little bit, and I think we both have agreed that, you know, although he definitely has some things that you can work with, I think we both kind of agreed that he would be a little bit of a project, and he's maybe not the guy who could come in and start right away, or ideally, I don't think you want him to come in and start right away. I think we both agreed on that. And so I'm gonna give you two teams or 2 scenarios that I thought about for him, and they're both fairly early in the draft. So the first one I thought of was at 4 to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I say that because although they're moving on from Matt Ryan, but they do have Gardner Minshew, and then they also, if I'm not mistaken, they have Nick Foles as a backup as well.
They do.
So right there you have you got a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and you got a couple quarterbacks who have shown themselves to have some success in this league, you know, despite whatever you may think about Nick Foles. Nick Foles has had some high highs. Okay.
Yes.
Gardner Minshew has shown the ability to be successful in this league and to be able to go out and win some games in spurts. And so I think that could be a really good situation where he could come in, not necessarily be expected to start. You know, maybe he can sit a year, maybe 2. But then when he does, when they do decide to maybe bring him in, he still got a couple pieces with Pittman, and, you know, one of the you know, top 3 or 5 running backs in the league, and Jonathan Taylor. Some people think he's the best running back in the league, but you still got that. And then under new coach Shane Steichen, I think that he'll bring he kind of brings that offense kind of similar to what we seen ran in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. And I think that they have a lot of him and Anthony Richardson kind of have a lot of similar skill sets, difference in size. But I think that Shane Steichen could find a way to make use of some of Anthony Richardson's athleticism as far as getting him out of the pocket a little bit. So I think that would be a great match for him. One team that would be a great match for him.
Okay, what's the other one?
The other team, they actually picked right behind the Colts at 5, and that's the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
And here's why. It seems to me, I think they, if I'm not mistaken, with Geno Smith, I think they re-signed him for another year.
3 years.
3 years, okay.
3 years, yes.
I don't know. It seems to me like, I don't know if they've necessarily bought into Geno Smith as the long-term option there. With that being said, though, I think the maturity and the growth that we've seen from Geno Smith is phenomenal. And so I think if Anthony Richardson is able to go in there and sit behind a guy like that, a guy who coming into the league, you know, had his ups and downs, who's been through some things, who, you know what I'm saying, got it out the mud, so to speak, you know, and now he can kind of, you know, Richardson can come in behind this guy and kind of sit back and learn. I really think Geno Smith will be able to relate to this kid and really be able to kind of mentor this kid if he's open to it. And
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. Yeah. He's matured so much.
And then the culture, playing under Pete Carroll, one of the best head coaches in the NFL, Super Bowl winning head coach. He's going to command respect. The culture there, the atmosphere there, I think that would be another really great landing spot for Anthony Richardson.
And I agree. I think Seattle is ideal. Seattle is one of the ideal spots because he would get a little bit more time to develop. I think my only drawback for Seattle would be you run the risk of a Matt Leinart, Kurt Warner type situation where they're like, oh fuck, we didn't expect Kurt Warner to be playing like this, and then Matt Leinart just never. I mean, but you swing and you take. At the end of the day, it's a business, so you go ahead and you take those risks. Maybe Geno is just an above average to Pro Bowl quarterback over the next 2 to 3 years, and you switch over. You switch over to Anthony Richardson. Kansas City, people forget Alex Smith was a fucking Pro Bowler. Alex Smith wasn't a bum, and they moved on. They said, hey, it's time to go ahead and turn the page. And Alex Smith was a good player for them. Arguably before Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith had been the best quarterback that Kansas City had in probably fucking 15, 20 years. Probably since Trent Green got hurt in that preseason game. Was it Trent Green? Yeah. So yeah. But
all right. Let me get another one out of you.
Okay. I got an interesting one, and you'll like this one. Michael Mayer, tight end at Notre Dame.
My boy.
I think Green Bay is perfect fit for him.
Wow.
I think Green Bay is perfect for him. We look at all the Titans of this draft, which I love them all. Dalton Kincaid, Luke Musgrave, Darnell Washington, all really big athletic guys. Michael Mayer is probably the only tight end I feel like that's going to come in year one and be a Pro Bowl guy. Because you watch first of all, he broke Tyler Eifert. He broke his receiving, I think, touchdown and yardage record at Notre Dame. Right. So he is the class of tight end. He's the standard at tight end at Notre Dame now in the history book.
You know that's my squad, so I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of them. But if you look at where Green Bay is moving on, transitioning to Jordan Love, they got the kid Christian Watson who's going into year 2. We saw him explode at the end of the year. Romeo Doubs is going to be another year 2 guy. They have a lot of young players at the quarterback and receiver position. They're going to need, and Jordan Love specifically, they lost Robert Tonyan. He's going to need a reliable safety blanket. And who better than to get Michael Mayer, who plays the game. Honestly, you watch him sometimes in college, and you could honestly, he just plays like an NFL veteran. He plays like a guy that gets it. He can block. He's a very, very dominant receiver. Big catching radius. He knows how to get open in zone. I mean, you're not going to man him up. I've seen him make some incredible catches, right? I'm talking about one-handed catches, things that you didn't think he was going to come down with, and he's actually pretty damn good after the run. So he's just a very complete prospect that I think would pay immediate dividends for a young quarterback in Jordan Love.
You know what? so crazy enough.
You picked the same thing.
That not only was he one of my players, but the Packers was one of my matches for him too. I actually, and I had 2 matches for him as well. I had the Packers, and then although I'm sure he wouldn't go this early in the draft, because this team picks at 7, I believe. But I thought with the Raiders getting off of Darren Waller, I thought Michael Mayer could be a solid fit there for them as well. So although I'm sure he won't go that far up in the draft, but he was definitely one of my guys, and that was definitely one of the teams I had for him. So with that being said, I'll give another one. Obviously, I couldn't do this and not talk about my Chicago Bears.
Right.
So obviously,
my Cowboys next, so I get you.
We moved off of the number 1 pick, traded to Carolina. Got this overhaul back or whatnot, and now we're in the 9th position. And I think the Bears are in a place where there's really not a bad pick for them, because we could really
use everything.
We could use a little bit of everything, So I don't think they can really make a bad pick with this selection. However, and this is a dream scenario, this is a match made in heaven for me.
Okay.
At the number 9 spot, if Jalen Carter so happens to fall to us at 9, there's no way we can't snatch this kid up. There's no and I mean unfortunately and we all I think we spoke about it on here before. Unfortunately, we know the legal trouble he kind of gotten into as far as with the car racing and unfortunately a couple people lost their lives and he initially lied about being involved and come to find out he was racing or whatnot. um and this was a guy who previous to that coming out
Was considered the
was
consensus
considered,
top.
yeah, and a lot of draft boards still have him as the best player in
player.
this draft. So but unfortunately because of that he may fall. I'm not saying that he's gonna fall this far to us at 9 because I mean he's just too awesome of a talent. But for me, with that being said, if he were to fall to us, I mean, I think this kid could come in, and especially on this Bears team, and mind you, we have a defensive coach now in Matt Eberflus. I think on this Bears team, I think that he could come right in and pay dividends for us on the defensive end right away. I think he'd immediately help as far as us stopping the run because quiet as it was kept, the Bears, who are known to be, who has been known for their defense, quietly fell into the bottom 5 defensively in pretty much every major defensive category last year. So I think getting a guy like this, he immediately comes in. I think day one, he's going to help against the run. I think day one, I don't think you'll ever really see him have these humongous sack numbers, but I think he's going to always be toward league lead in pressures because I think this is a guy who's really gonna get after it for us. And for me, if he was to fall, I couldn't think of a better pick for my Bears.
I would like that. I think that would be a good. It'd be a good. That's a good culture building pick, right? Because Jalen Carter, legal troubles aside, he's a monster. And I compare. My comp for him was Ndamukong Suh. So I think he can bring that nastiness. I don't think he's a dirty player, Ndamukong Suh was, but as far as like pure athleticism mixed with brute force, I think that he matches that.
And I think he's a kid that others will feed off of. They'll feed
off. 100%. And to tell you the truth, I cannot name many defenders on that defense right now. I know you guys
exactly.
I know it's a few TJ Edwards, a lot of young guys, but I think that would be a good building block. But no, I agree. Really good.
We got off of Roquan. We got off of Robert Quinn. I mean, so we could use him, man. But give me I know you got a couple more, man. Give me somebody else.
Okay, so it's my last one, but this is my biggest one.
Okay,
so that's for cool. Dallas,
perfect, because I got one more too since you stole Michael Mayer.
So my last one is Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. Match made in heaven is the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not saying that because we know Jerry Jones is a big Arkansas guy. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that because his skill set is he's an
outside linebacker.
So here's the funny part. His skill set is probably eerily similar to Micah Parsons. Whereas the difference is Micah Parsons was an off-ball linebacker that transitioned to pass rusher. Drew Sanders was a pass rusher that transitioned to off-ball linebacker. So anyone that knows anything about Drew Sanders, he started out at Alabama. He transferred, and he only started 1 year at Arkansas, but he was one of the best defensive players, not only in the SEC, but in the nation. He had I want to say 70, 80 combined tackles, and he had 9.5 sacks. But this kid, I would say usually for a normal team, we would say, oh, okay, he'd be a tweener. We don't know what they're going to do with him. But Dan Quinn is going to use him for what he does well. Not only is he going to allow him to interchange and mix and match with Micah Parsons, but you start him out at that other inside linebacker spot next to LVE. And here's the crazy part. Ironically, another strength of Drew Sanders' game, he stops the run. He stops the run very well. And what do we know Dallas was bad at last year? They couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed. But no, when you watch his tape, man, he really understands how to sit. It is very rare, especially for guys who haven't played off-ball linebacker very much. He really knows how to sift through the trash. Get offensive linemen off him. He's a big kid. Drew Sanders is about 6'4", 6'5". A lot taller than you would think for off-ball linebacker. But he knows how to sift through the trash, and he knows how to get to the backfield. Get to the backfield, get to the ball carrier. And he's a plus athlete. This isn't just some he's not just rangy. He's a plus athlete. He is very, very, very athletic. So he's a guy I think could come into Dallas' system, not only start at off-ball linebacker, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had anywhere between 5 to 7 sacks in that system, and you're looking at a possible defensive rookie of the year type of bid. He's that caliber of player, and Dan Quinn is that perfect for his skill set.
Okay. And I had to ask you, give me a comparison. You said Micah. You said he's kind of like Micah. Now those are big shoes to fill.
Well, it's big shoes to fill, but here's the thing: it's because we haven't seen very many players with that skill set. So, I mean, I could say some Micah Parsons, but then also you could look at him from a rushing standpoint. And you could say he's a little bit like T.J. Watt, build-wise, right? A little bit small. That doesn't really have the mass, but I would say you could say some similar. So probably like a mix-up between Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt. Okay. But like I said, the scary part is when you watch his tape, he really can rush from everywhere. That's what's scary about him. He's a really talented kid, kind of going under the radar.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you my last match made in heaven here. Another name that we've heard a lot about, and that's Bijan Robinson. By all accounts, he'll probably be the first running back taken off the board. A lot of analysts say he's probably a lot of analysts believe he's the only first round caliber running back in this year's draft. He had a really awesome season out of Texas. So this may come as a little bit of a surprise. But at 14, you got the New England Patriots. And I think that he could, especially with them losing Damian Harris, I think that he could be a really, really solid fit for them. We talk about the culture. I know we just mentioned the relationship that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick have, and how they're very similar coaches. I think that it would be a really smooth transition for a kid like Bijan Robinson going from that. Excuse me. Bijan went to Texas. Excuse me.
Yeah. Sark is, yeah.
But hey, Sark is a he came. He's an Alabama. Yeah, he was under Alabama and under Saban himself. Excuse me. But Bijan Robinson, a really mature kid. I think he can go in there, and I think, mind you, the New England Patriots also quietly they have James Robinson too, and James Robinson is another running back who we've seen, especially with the Jets. I mean, not with the Jets, with the Jags.
And then he got traded to the Jets, yeah.
Yeah, Jags and Jets. But we seen him really be able to catch and do some things, catching the ball out of the backfield. And so I think you can bring a guy like Bijan Robinson in there, and I think the mixture of the two of them can be a really nice 1-2 punch for this New England Patriot team. And then also they have Bill O'Brien coming in now, finally a real true offensive coordinator. Ironically, I don't know if you heard. Did you see Matt Patricia got? He's going to be with the Eagles now.
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive assistant, which is good fit for him. He's a defensive.
Get him back on the right side of the ball where he needs to be, right? Yeah. But yeah, man, I really think like Bijan Robinson out of Texas. If New England can pick him up at 14, I think he's a really good kid, really great for their culture, and I think he'd be a really solid fit for New England there.
I agree. Now, the only thing is I don't want to see Bijan Robinson get lost in that 5-6 running back system, but hell, they find a way to use him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I agree. That is a good fit, and from my understanding from all reports, they actually like him a lot. So you could easily see him go there. And I've seen some situations where they talking about Philly might explore taking him at 10.
Did. I mean, and I guess I can see that because they lost Miles Sanders to Carolina, I believe.
Yeah, and as of right now, Rashad Penny's their starter. Even though I like Rashad Penny, I just obviously
they still got. I like Boston Scott too. I can't think of the other kid's name, but
Kenneth
he came in the
Gainwell.
playoffs. Yeah, Gainwell came in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think Philly's line is inducive to whatever running back behind them.
Oh yeah. Whoever's there is gonna eat. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they got Bijan. But yeah, no, that is some great fits, man. And obviously we got the mock draft coming up on Tuesday, which we'll go ahead and be prepped for. We'll go ahead and bump through the first round. And then we have our live NFL draft show next Thursday. And we'll go ahead and we'll send, you'll get the flyer. Just be on the lookout. We'll have the flyer out. But yeah, man, that's it. We want to keep today nice, quick, and straight to the point. What you got for us?
I was just gonna say, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to those that are gonna tune in. Like he said, you're gonna see us twice next week. We'll have our mock draft on Tuesday next week, 7:30 Central Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, and then next Thursday we're gonna be live right here for the NFL draft. We'll probably may have a guest or two on, so more to come with that. Obviously, like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Obviously, go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram. It's simply at Rooted in Sports. Give us each individually a follow. I am iSwan_0623. And my boy here is Tiberius, just like you see his spell scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
519.
You got Tiberius 519. As always, my boy just dropped an episode on the Sports Exclusive podcast talking about analytics. So y'all definitely go ahead, like and subscribe to that. Also on YouTube, the Sports Exclusive podcast, and check out this here episode on analytics, as well as the other 12 or 13 that he's already dropped this season, because he's steady coming with this heat for us. You know what I'm saying? So y'all definitely do that. And Rooted in Sports Community Saturdays, Twitter Spaces, 2 p.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's it, man. I wanted to make sure we get all that out. Other than that, that's it. Much love. God bless.
You guys. And we'll see you guys
Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.